Palestine's internal dynamics and larger geopolitical environment are often muddled. And controversy. A number of analysts and specialists have tried to predict how this long-running feud would play out, but few have taken the risk as boldly as Douglas Macgregor has in claiming that Israel may fall in this continuous conflict. Former U.S. Army Colonel and military expert Douglas Macgregor has offered an insightful explanation for why Israel's situation could be more precarious than it seems. His research not only refutes accepted opinion, and this video will discuss Macgregor's arguments and look at the things he thinks could cause Israel to fall apart during this long and extremely contentious war. It also raises significant questions about the viability of Israel's strategy in light of the ongoing conflict with Gaza. In order to comprehend Macgregor's claim, we must first examine the historical background of the Israel-Gaza-Palestine conflict, which may be traced back. The Zionist movement sought to establish a Jewish homeland in the region dating back to the late 19th century, when Jewish settlers first arrived in Palestine, which was then a part of the Ottoman Empire. This move was met with resistance from the Arab population, which resulted in a series of conflicts and wars. Eventually, the State of Israel was created in 1948. Gaza, a slender peninsula on the Mediterranean coast, has served as the center of this continuous battle. It is important to remember that the history of the region is complicated. Deep-seated resentment and conflicting narratives on both sides in light of the continuous conflict between Israel and Palestine. Douglas Macgregor argues that Israel's policy, which mostly depends on military power and economic sanctions, may eventually become unsustainable. According to Macgregor, there are three important elements that can lead to Israel's possible collapse. One of the crucial elements Macgregor draws attention to is Israel's demographic dilemma. Gaza-Palestine's population is expanding quickly, and many of its young people have grown up during the difficulties and strife of the last several years. Due to its high birth rate, Israel's population is rapidly growing, endangering its long-term stability. According to Macgregor, if Gaza's younger generation is still trapped in a cycle of violence and rationing, Israel's capacity to retain control over the region may be threatened by Palestine's growing radicalization, which might lead to a more protracted and fierce struggle and the disintegration of its security system. Irrational criticism of Israel's conduct of the Gaza crisis has grown. Palestine, the siege of Gaza, and the high number of civilian fatalities have garnered criticism from a number of sources, including foreign governments and international human rights groups. According to Macgregor, Israel's diplomatic isolation is progressively growing and might have disastrous repercussions. He contends that Israel will find it difficult to retain its important partnerships, especially with the United States, as its diplomatic standing weakens. This might make Israel more susceptible to external forces and may jeopardize its economic sustainability and long-term security. Macgregor also makes a compelling case for the possibility of boycotts and economic pressure tripling Israel's GDP. The sanctions, divestment, and the boycott of Israeli goods and divestment from firms doing business with Israel is the goal of the BDS movement, which has gained traction in recent years despite obstacles and controversy. Made progress in gaining support and having an impact on the economy. Although Douglas Macgregor's arguments are thought-provoking, he argues that persistent economic pressure coupled with increasing international condemnation could result in a scenario where Israel's economy weakens significantly. This could undermine its ability to maintain its military and security apparatus and ultimately contribute to its collapse. While his claims have not been without detractors and rebuttals, it is important to look at some of the objections and differing viewpoints that have been voiced. Israel's military might is a main argument used to refute Macgregor's thesis. Israel's armed forces are among the most powerful and technologically sophisticated in the world. Their arsenal of cutting-edge weapons and intelligence. Proponents of Israel's military might claim that it is unlikely to collapse owing to demographic difficulties or diplomatic isolation alone, because Israel's military deterrence is still strong and will continue to deter its enemies. Israel has consistently provided a significant advantage in conflicts. Israel's policies and actions have been motivated by its persistent concern for its security. Critics of Macgregor's position. Supporters of Israel contend that despite the Israeli-Palestinian conflict's unresolvable nature, the country's commitment to security will enable it to adapt and change in response to changing conditions. This includes investing in technology, intelligence, and security measures to effectively counter threats. Additionally, Israel has proven its ability to negotiate and forge peace agreements with some of its neighbors, like Egypt and Jordan. Its pursuit of a peaceful conclusion will continue to be motivated by security considerations. Some who disagree with McGregor's perspective also wonder how much pressure the international community can put on Israel to cause it to collapse. Key allies like the United States, which offers significant military assistance and diplomatic support, are very supportive of Israel. In addition, Israel has received international criticism for decay, yet it retained its standing in the area. Critics contend that Israel's capacity to withstand criticism from other countries shows it can handle diplomatic difficulties and continue to exist. One of the ongoing difficulties in Israel-Gaza, the political impasse and leadership on both sides of the Palestine dispute. Unified discussions with Israel have been hampered by political splits within Palestinians, including rival groups like Fatah and similar to Israel, which has seen frequent changes in leadership. Coalition politics has also seen political instability. The absence of stable and consistent leadership on both sides has hampered efforts to reach a peaceful resolution. So resolving this issue may call for coordinated efforts from the international community to facilitate negotiations and encourage reconciliation among Palestinian factions. External actors may also need to be involved. The United States has been a steadfast ally of Israel, but countries like Iran and Qatar have supported the Palestinian faction, complicating the conflict. These external actors' influence can either exacerbate or facilitate efforts to mediate and bring about a negotiated settlement, which frequently involve regional and international powers. While difficult, reaching an understanding among these parties is essential to any long-lasting peace accord. The conflict's continued humanitarian effects are astounding. Both Israelis and Palestinians have experienced hardships such as injuries, relocation, and loss of life. Particularly in Gaza, there have been acute humanitarian problems, such as shortages of food and water, poor medical treatment, and deteriorated infrastructure. It is morally required to solve the humanitarian issue, and doing so might provide the groundwork for future diplomatic initiatives. Rebuilding with humanitarian assistance, trust and goodwill among the afflicted communities may be fostered via assistance and better living circumstances. Although the two-state solution, which calls for an independent and sovereign Palestine alongside Israel, has long been seen as the most likely route to peace, doubts have been raised about its viability due to the ongoing growth of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and the widening gap between the two sides. Reviving the two-state solution may need more international commitment, a halt to unsettlement growth, and a return to substantive discussions whereby advancing a common vision for peaceful coexistence is a key goal. Douglas McGregor's claim that Israel may collapse in the midst of the current conflict with Gaza-Palestine offers a thought-provoking viewpoint that contradicts popular belief. His evaluation draws attention to the issues posed by demographics. However, it is important to recognize the complex and deeply entrenched nature of the Israel-Gaza-Palestine conflict. Counter-arguments suggest that Israel's military strength, commitment to security, and international support may offset the challenges outlined by McGregor. Ultimately, the future of the conflict may be affected by diplomatic isolation and economic pressures that could potentially undermine Israel's long-term stability. Thanks for sticking with me through to the very end. Please like, comment, subscribe, and make sure the notification bell is turned on. Conflict remains uncertain, and any prediction of collapse or resolution must take into account the multitude of factors at play.